up? I'm Garnett Strother from Strother PT, and you're watching and listening to the Independent Trainer Podcast. My next guest is, man, she's just a force to be reckoned with. I think she's going to change the industry, not just visually, but I think internally as well. Her name is Kehinde Anjorin, and her story is incredible. I know I say this all the time in the last episodes, but this one is really, really special. I've always believed that this person would be the future of the fitness industry for many reasons, and you're about to find out why.
Kehinde, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you have a very busy schedule. It is, in fact, Sunday.
It's Sunday.
Kehinde does not leave the house.
Nope.
For nobody.
Mm-mm.
Except for me.
But I'm here.
She's here. And we match.
Yes.
Excellent. We did not plan this. This is really good. I like this.
Yeah. Pink on pink, white on white.
Yep.
The blonde curls.
You know what I'm saying? I'll let you borrow my style for a little bit. It's okay. So
you look nice, Garnett. You look
Thank
nice.
you. I'm trying to get a little. This is like my vacation look. This is like,
Nice and tanned.
You know, thank you.
Works well with the tie-dye and the pink.
You know, the darker you get, the more contrast. You know what time it is, girl. You know what it is.
The better it is.
Living that chocolate life.
Yes, yes, yes.
So what's going on with you right now in business-wise? You've gone through quite the transformation during COVID. Like
Yes.
I don't think anyone has had a level up as much as you have.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, a lot is going on, and I think the pandemic allowed me to sort of just unveil my potential.
Mm-hmm.
I think these are things that I wanted to do in the past, and I never had the courage all the time to pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
But the pandemic allowed me to sort of like break that shell.
You sure
And
did.
it's been amazing, you know, like the collaborations, the partnerships, things I've done personally with my business. It's been great.
Yeah, it's really amazing to watch. You really
Thank
you really stepped up. I mean, a lot of people wanted to, you know, like, oh, this is gonna be my year, but you really fucking made it your year, like for real.
Yeah.
You know, you went from, I think, just like kind of training people here and there. You didn't know whether or not you wanted to totally leave the modeling aspect of what you did, but you kind of had this beautiful marriage of the two.
Yeah.
Which I think is like it's kind of like the goal, I think, especially for like a lot of female personal trainers. I mean, but you also can train your ass off too. You actually know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yes.
Which is
That's a fact.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's such a refreshing experience to be around you on the gym floor, because not only are you like exuberant with like energy, you know what the fuck you're doing. You have a degree. You understand how body mechanics work.
Thank you.
You know, and I think that's not really highlighted. I think with a lot of female trainers right now, and it's just mostly like booty videos, and which is great if that's your thing, right? Like, but it's really nice to see, especially a woman of color, to kind of move into that realm where you're educating people as well as, you know, entertaining us, I suppose. How do you feel like navigating that has been for you as a woman of color, as an educator, as someone who is in a very unique position? What's your experience been like so far?
I guess it's a coalescence of like a lot of things. You deal with both the internal factor and external factor. You walk around with that double consciousness.
Right.
You know, it's how you perceive yourself, but you know that perception is not what they see.
Correct.
They already have a presumption about who you are as a black woman.
Like W.E.B. Du Bois. We were talking about this before.
Yep. So you're working around with those two elements. And for me, honestly, I just try to stay true to who I am. And for a while, I was walking around with those like internal, external elements, like how I perceive myself and how the world perceives me. And I think I just took away that external component. Not worrying about what they think or what the presumptions they've made automatically when they see my color.
Right.
I'm just going to show up as who I am.
Exactly. Because we can't control that. We can't control other people's perceptions. We can only control ourselves and our decision making. That's some very, very large amount of growth right there. You know?
And it's a burden. I think it's a huge burden trying to manage those two elements. You know, trying to create your sense of self already is a hard thing to pursue. And in conjunction with trying to manage external perceptions, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Burden, yeah.
I gotta control my internal dialogue, plus I gotta try to control whatever's happening out here. It's not possible.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's something I had to deal with myself for a long time as being a black man in the industry. Like I'm not your typical, whatever typical is. Like I'm not just like wearing all black all the time and training a bunch of like Upper East Side white women who kind of fetishize me, which is kind of the deal in New York City.
Yeah.
When you see that, when you see black men training on the gym floor, they're very niche, right? They're not allowed to feel like or become specialists or expansive. They just do boxing, right? Because for a long time that was the only way that black men could get a job. That's how I started working, because I had to drop out of high school and then support my daughter. And so it was like, how am I going to support myself? But how am I going to like really be excellent at this job and deal with the perception of me in the society? Especially the higher you climb, the higher the clientele you get, the more that perception of you kind of narrows.
Yeah.
You know. Have you ever dealt with like any high profile clients that you felt like didn't really respect you because of where you come from or how you look?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. And luckily that's in the past. I've let them go. But initially when I started my personal training business, I took everyone I could.
Right.
You're grinding, you're trying to make ends meet. But now I use more discernment in like, okay, I'm not going to work with you, but I have experienced it. I had a particular client who would always question me on the floor.
Interesting.
You know, whatever we did, she would always question and rebuttal me. And I was like, well, I just kind of felt I wasn't wanted.
Right.
And I was like, why are you paying me all this money?
Exactly.
You know,
do you like question your dentist? This is the only industry where the people do that, right?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
you go to like.
Do you go to your doctor and question your doctor when he prescribes you medication?
Right. I don't think antibiotics are for me. You know, I don't think that that's good. You know, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. This is what I do for a living.
Yeah.
This is the only industry where people pay you and they just do not listen to you. You know, but how did you navigate that scenario? Did you just kind of like say, you know what, this is not for me, or did you eventually build rapport with that person and they trusted you?
Initially, I did try that route. I tried to build rapport, but then the relationship went on, I was like, okay, I don't need to prove anything to you.
Right.
I don't need to prove anything to you, and I sort of transitioned her out.
Right.
I just told her I'm moving to a different studio. I knew that was going to be a challenge for her.
Yeah. Serafina really likes cocoa butter.
Right. She loves licking. I knew that was going to be a deal breaker for her because she wanted to stay on the Upper West Side.
Right, right.
So that was how I kind of just transitioned her out, because I was like, you know what, it's been a year and a half. You question my expertise. I don't need to prove anything at this point.
Right.
Yep.
I think that's an important thing for trainers to understand too. There's no coffee for you, Serafina. She's very riled up about this client from back in the day.
Come on, sit with mama.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. For continuity purposes, we're gonna restart the interview from here.
Ooh.
So yeah, I think that proving styles is an important thing for trainers to understand too. Sometimes you run into people like, I run into people all the time. The higher up you climb in that like your pay scale, the more you find people with the psychology that need to be proven. You need to prove the session to them every session. Some people I find like, they did one session, I trust this person for the rest of my life, right? You do it one time and then they made up their mind, you're their person, and then that's it. We love those people, but that's not a lot of the people in the upper tier level, right? Those people that like handle a lot of money at a time, sometimes you're gonna have to, like every like month or so, you gotta prove why you're here, you know? And then you got people that every session, which is raises my anxiety just thinking about it, like every session you gotta show up.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot, like maybe 50-50, the higher up I climb in my rate, the more I have that psychology that's like, okay, what's up today, Garnett? You know, what you got going on today? You know, and I never repeat a session, so it's very challenging to do. But how do you find your clientele these days? Like, what kind of psychology do you feel like you're navigating, we're dealing with right now? What kind of people are you working with?
I'm actively choosing to work with people who align with like my morals and values.
Okay.
And like before I even take on a client, we do like a consult.
Right.
And I could preemptively know this is someone I want to work with, because it's just not personal training, it's a relationship.
Right.
You form and you bond with clients for a very long time. And you spend a lot of time with your clients. And I find that as much as I am to them as a therapist, they are to me as well.
Right.
There's certain things I don't tell my sister or my girlfriends, I do tell my clients.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a component I look for, like long-term and longevity, because it's a relationship.
It is a
That you
relationship.
build and form.
It is.
Yeah.
I think that's why communication styles are so important to understand, because you're in a relationship with this person, and they like they're relying on you, but their energy is also part of the equation. So when you get hired, like when you first start training, you'll work with anybody.
Anyone,
right?
Yes.
Oh, you're depressed? Great, I don't care, whatever, we're gonna work out today. Oh, you got anxiety? Whatever, okay, let's go. You got multiple personality disorder, and you got like, and you're like a rageful person. Whatever. I've trained like blind people, deaf people, people in wheelchairs. Didn't matter, right? As long as they had the heart. But when it comes to like their energy, that I started becoming a little bit more discerning too.
Yes,
You know?
that's important. Energy is important for me because how I show up my clients, I'm very bubbly, vivacious.
Right. Your energy is very high.
Yes.
You start up here, and if they're
Yes.
down here,
That affects me.
Right.
You absorb, these are people you're dealing with, and you don't realize you absorb the energy. Like I had a client who was always just down, a pessimist, and I was like, after our sessions, I had to reorient myself, my next client, because I absorbed her energy.
right.
So, and that's a lot of work. That's
That
a lot
is.
of work for someone who's like high and upbeat to sort
Yeah.
of kind of bring yourself down to that level.
Yeah, man, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
ever like you finish with that client, and then you gotta go with like Sarah. Shout out to Sarah, right? And then she's like, hey, like no matter what, she's just
Yes.
like, hey, and she's
Yes.
dealing with some shit, but she's always like meeting you where you're at
Yeah.
and brings out your higher self. That is an ideal
Yeah,
client.
and I realize I don't want to compromise
Right.
with that. I don't need to train everyone. I don't
Right.
need to train every personality type. Because at the end of the day, when I go home, I want to feel good.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I want to feel exhausted.
Yeah, because you got a whole other life to live after you
Yeah.
train. You know.
Yep.
I think that's important too. I will come home and like do that. I talked about in the last session, in the last episode. I talked about how I actually structure my clients by psychology. So my clients start off like usually in the morning. I have a guy or a girl who start. They're kind of like here, 8 a.m. people, which is where I start. They're like kind of like chill. So I can build up to that energy, like, but if I start my 8 a.m. like, by the time I do my own shit, I'm like low.
Yeah, you're low on energy.
You know, I'm like, oh, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Why am I so tired? Like I slept well, I did everything I was supposed to, but so yeah, I think
it's a
that's
lot.
that's
It's a lot.
paramount.
Yeah, because I need to make sure I'm okay. I need to make sure my energy is okay because I need to show up for you. So,
Exactly.
Yep.
So during COVID, how did you show up for your clients? I know you're doing like a lot of virtual stuff, like like we all were.
Yep.
But how did you bring that energy to your virtual sessions?
It's hard to put that in words because I just feel like for me and my personality, it's just automatic. You know, it's not something that I have to think about.
Okay.
It's innate within my nature.
Okay.
I'm still my bubbly self. I'm still like my excited Kehinde. And I think a big part of that too is conversations. Because the Zoom sessions, I personally feel require a lot of energy.
Yeah.
They're more taxing than the in-person sessions.
Absolutely.
You know, if there is a room of silence, it feels awkward and weird. So I think just conversating and
True.
making sure things are not awkward. I'm pretty good at that. I talk a lot, so that's not a problem for me. Yeah, I think it was easier for me to kind of just translate who I was already into the camera
That's so difficult to
with my
do.
clients. It wasn't even like, I know for a lot of trainers, it's a hard transition.
Yeah.
That's why the relationship component is important.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
you're not just dealing with machines, you're dealing with like humans who have emotions and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think that Serafina can agree as well. That when you're like, your style of communication on the gym floor is, let's say, a more like passive trainer. You know those trainers that kind of like let their client run the show?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see them like, you don't want to offend them. They're
Yeah.
scared that they'll, you know, they're gonna lose out on money if they don't assert themselves and tell them like, yo, listen, you gotta, hey, keep your shoulders back.
Yeah.
People are afraid to tell these people that are high profile people what to do because they don't want to lose out on money, but
Yeah.
that's why they hired you. So it's important to find a way to communicate that energy, even if it's via Zoom, those trainers had the hardest time, from what I can see, with translating to Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, when you're not like, you already naturally don't have a lot of energy. It's hard for them to really like kind of calibrate.
And a lot of trainers are very methodical.
Right.
And I feel a lot of trainers fail to like attach or connect emotionally with their clients.
Right.
Because you could be the best trainer, you could be highly methodical in what you do.
You have all the degrees.
If you can't connect with your person on a human level, it's not sustainable.
That's right.
It's not sustainable because we're dealing with human beings.
Right. When you're dealing with human beings,
emotions and personality types.
Their personality types and emotions are like making them a moving target, and they're different every single day. Your program is not designed for that. You know, they hurt themselves playing racquetball over the weekend, or you know, they played a pickup game of basketball, now they got a sprained ankle. Your program is out the fucking window.
Yeah.
Or they're sad and depressed. Their girlfriend just broke up with them. They're going through a divorce. That's why they hire you. They're not hiring. They can get exercise routines from anywhere. Muscle and Fiction has tons of those things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I just canceled myself on Muscle and Muscle and Fitness, by the way. But whatever. They know, y'all know what y'all doing. Perpetrating a fraud over here. Anyway. So during COVID, we had a very Serafina, relax. We're gonna get right to it. Okay, Serafina is upset because we're not talking about the Black Lives Matter protests during the pandemic. Okay, so the dog has vanished because she got sick of our shit. She really couldn't handle the Black Lives Matter protest stuff, so she had to take care of some things. She'll be back probably later, in case you were just skipping ahead. For more dog content, please rewind. So yeah, we're getting right to it. Being black and a trainer during 2020 was like a minefield. You know, it was like, you know, you would, I don't know about you, I have very compassionate clients, right?
Yep, same.
They reached out to me, it was like, you know, how do you feel? What's going on? Like, tell me, I'm here to listen. And some people were just like, you know, one or two clients are just like, this is just ridiculous. They're destroying property, and like, I'm just like, that made it very hard to conduct a business when there's so much social unrest happening and people just didn't get it, and they weren't curious about trying to find out how to do it.
Yeah.
How did you navigate being a black trainer during the pandemic, during the George Floyd case and the riots, and you know, it was just how did you handle that?
Well, if anyone knows me, I'm very outspoken about issues like that.
Yep.
I don't shy away from it. So it's under the presumption that people who work with me or who want to work with me understand where I come from. My social media is incredibly public. I don't shy away from topics like that.
Right.
So I think my clients already have an idea of who I am and where I stand.
For all these new people out here, you don't know what time it is.
Just so you know. So I'm a huge egalitarian. I'm really about injustice and liberation of the oppressed of any kind.
Right.
So that's something I do present very, very, vivid on my social media platform.
Right.
Okay. I think my clients know that, and I think it was great because a lot of my clients are incredibly conscious.
Right.
And we've had various conversations about this even before the blowout.
Right.
But
because this has been happening for a long time.
Yes.
This isn't just new for 2020.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm really blessed to have clients who are incredibly woke and compassionate. You know, I've had clients during the time who said, if you need time off, please do.
Right.
They would check in on me.
Wow.
You know.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's
huge.
huge.
But I think it's through the eradication of the clients I know we're not going to take that stance.
Yep. See ya.
They're not here anymore, so
Nope.
I didn't have to worry about that.
Right.
So I've done that sweep and cleanup a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So it
part
was
of
great.
that's a huge part of the elevation of your personal training business, which is phenomenal. But like I think, how did you manage your mental health, for example? I remember just like when COVID was like ravaging everything. You couldn't go outside. You know, it was kind of scary to protest. I made a few protests. I made videos for the protests. We actually had a falling out during
during this whole
One
thing.
of our many guys. One of our many.
One of our many fallings out.
Garnett is like my annoying big brother.
How am I annoying?
Like, we fight. We fight like my sister and I do, and we don't talk to each other. We ignore each other. But we did have a falling out because we have different like perspectives
Right.
on certain issues. He is more.
I think we have the same perspective, but different.
Different approaches.
Approaches.
Actually.
Yeah.
And my approach is more like, can I curse on this or no?
Fuck yeah, you can.
It's like, fuck it. I'm not here to
She's
educate
like, yeah.
anybody. I'm not here to cuddle anyone.
Right.
There's Google. As a black woman, it's a burden to navigate the space being black already.
Yep.
So I don't have the energy.
I feel you.
But Garnett is more like, yeah, but we gotta. So that's where we
Yeah, that's how I talk when I'm like trying to.
yeah, but we gotta, no.
I'm
so
more-
that's where we it would differ, but
Right.
we do have the same stance, just different approaches to
That's
it.
right. Professor X and Magneto, if you will. My approach is much more. I just feel like for the nerds watching, they're out there. I just feel like you win everything with love. You can't coerce or force someone to empathize with your struggle when now that you have the opportunity to put a boot on their neck. Just because I had a boot on my neck doesn't mean I'm gonna do the same to you, even if I feel that way. Now, like, we're both black people, but our struggles are very different in the society of black people, right? Like, you're a black woman, you're fetishized, you're downtrodden, yet you're the most educated people in the planet, in the country at least, right? And
The
I'm
biggest entrepreneurs.
exactly, and the most entrepreneur, especially during COVID, right? Now, I'm a black man, and I'm literally hunted in the street, also fetishized, but the perception of me is more of a threat, as an imminent threat. As soon as I walk into the room, I gotta navigate the space different. So I think that's why our approaches are a little different.
Yeah.
Because you're expected to be smooth, and you're like, fuck that shit, and I'm expected to be hard, and I'm like, trying to
Hard
navigate
love.
being
I
smooth.
consider my approach hard love.
Yeah, because
Hard
you
love.
can be, and it should. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But
It's with love, but it's also with, listen, I don't have time.
right?
There's resources out there. You could do your own education.
Absolutely.
So.
My thing is like, I understand that, like, 'cause I feel that way too.
And I just feel like, okay, it's just like I grew up in Nigeria, okay? I grew up
Right.
in Africa, and I grew up with all kinds of people. So for me, I just never understand how you could just inherently just have disdain for another racial group.
Right.
The way I approach my life, you respect every person. Every person you approach, we're all human beings. Unto otherwise. But that's been my approach, and it's not even about like when you take the racial component out of it,
Right.
just the plain and simplicity of it on
Right.
a human level.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think because, while I'm born and raised in New York City, and I fundamentally understand why racism exists especially in this country, because it's systemic, right? Like, this is a system put in place to confuse us so that we don't pay attention to the real problem, which is the wage gap, right? Because poor white people have more in common with us than these rich white folks that have been controlling things forever, right? So my thing is, why don't we all unify? Yeah, you got that stupid red hat on right now, but you want the same things I want, right? You work at Amazon, or you work at, driving a truck, or whatever you do, you bust your ass for your family, just like how I do. But you've been told a completely different rhetoric. You've been told and lied to, just like how I was. We went through the same public school system that highlighted George Washington and forgot about Medgar Evers, and forgot about Malcolm X, and forgot about all these other great people that contributed to American society. That's the problem.
That's why we need critical race theory.
That's why we need critical race theory.
That's another topic, though.
I mean, no, that's the same topic. We need to get up on that, because that's pivotal to understanding American history. It's not black history, it's American history. We built this country just like everyone else did that came here. We all contributed to this. So my thing is, like, I grew up around everybody too. I grew up in I grew up in Grand and Pitt. It's like Chinatown's right here, Little Italy's right there. Got the Jewish bakeries over here, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, black people peppered among the entire crowd, right? So it's like, I don't feel comfortable unless I'm in different cultures myself personally.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way on the gym floor, right?
I want to see different styles and approaches and psychologies, because then I can expand my map of the world based on the people around me.
Yeah.
So my approach has always been like, all right, so a week after Eric Garnett got murdered, I was assaulted by the police. And viciously, like I had permanent damage to my left eye because of what happened to me. And I remember like my white counterpart, a white friend of mine, who was just like, well, it's a tough job. I don't know what you did. Like, I don't know what happened, but you know, he didn't empathize with me at all. And that's the problem, right? The problem is that people don't understand that we're human too, because we're painted in this light that we're either less than or I don't understand either.
The assumption of guilt is already there.
The assumption of guilt is already there.
And even with a strong evidence, you still have to prove your innocence.
Or human.
Your humanity.
We got people on camera getting murdered, and we're supposed to show up the next day. All right, man, you got 5 more. Okay, yeah, good job. Excellent work on the squats. You know, I think that is not highlighted. I don't think anyone has talked about that, about just being a black trainer, and then having to like. I've been arrested on my way to work. You know, like I've been like, you know, and then I've been like thrown in jail for like. For whatever, for like just skating in the bike lane and almost get hit by a cop car and just tossed in jail, and I gotta call the gym and tell my client, who's like an older white male who doesn't understand at all, like, yo, listen, I can't make it to work today because I got arrested. He doesn't get that this is a systemic thing that's, you know.
It's certainly something that's not being talked about often or enough, especially navigating the fitness industry.
Right.
We know that 99.9% of our clientele, white males or white females.
Right.
You walk in a gym space, you don't really see that much trainers training black consumers.
And it's sad.
And the industry in itself is curated for that demographic.
That's right.
We're left out. So no one's talking about, okay, as a black trainer whose consumer is predominantly white, like how do you navigate spaces like that?
Right. I think that even our culture is deemed as a threat. Remember when we first started working at the gym that we're at now, hip hop was perceived as a threat. I was like, hey, can we throw on some, you know, some lyric safe hip hop? You know what they told me? They said, we're a high-end gym. We don't play things like that here. Meanwhile, hip hop, did you see that little micro experiment? Did you see it? Right, it's our culture.
Yeah.
Right? Like, first of all, it's the most popular form of music.
It shapes culture.
It shaped. You ain't gotta tell me, dog. But listen, like now that you know, because I was, you know, I invited them to the conversation, and through my methodology was able to like influence the space to be comfortable with that. I think I allow them to question themselves, like, why are you not comfortable with hip hop? You know what I mean? Like, why would you not? The white people like hip hop too. It's not like just me. It's not black music. It's the most popular form of music in the world.
Absolutely.
But the fact that you're, you know, associating hip hop with that negative connotation shows your ignorance, because you don't know any people of color.
Yeah.
And this industry isn't, like you said, built for people of color.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It doesn't pertain to any of our specific issues. Like, how do I navigate like a food desert? If I live in the hood, how am I really going to get ripped or not get diabetes, which a third of us have?
Yeah.
You know, like how am I going to, you know, on a budget, have a healthy diet? How am I going to get access to food? How am I going to?
A lot of minorities don't have access to, or don't have the luxury to do one-on-one training, personal training.
Right. So how do we make it accessible to them? It's just been a huge facet of me.
And I don't even think it's 100% not having access or having, you know, the means to. I think is because the space has not been created with inclusion. Right. So we just don't feel like we could participate in those spaces.
Facts.
They're uncomfortable to share those spaces because we're like, well, this is not curated for us.
Right.
But our music is what drives it. You go to any studio.
Any studio. They trapping hard.
Yeah.
They selling dope and kicking people out the car and all that. Sonically, anyway. Yeah. But it's like, you know, it's hip hop is more than that. Like, you know, that's what they push on the radio now. But we know that the culture tells a story that is critical race theory. That's why hip hop is important. It's because it tells our story. Yeah. And we love it. We love Ain't Nothing But a G Thing. You know, everybody. You know what I mean? That comes on, and you see the gym floor go, yeah, okay. no matter, it's just an age, timeless classic, you know, like things like that. Regulators comes on. That's why I love music so much, because it unifies us without, you know, it's the great unifier, you know, without judgment. And I think that's I take that as my responsibility to do. I know you're a black woman, and you're tired of uplifting the entire society forever, you know, and creating culture forever since the beginning of time. But so I think it's, yeah, see, there you go, look, she.
So yeah, Mama's tired.
Sarafina off camera
tired.
knows how tired Mama is. But it's yeah, man, like, so it's just it's up to me to do it now, you know? So I just want to say thank you for being that strong during COVID and elevating your own game.
Thank you. I had to. I had no choice. I had to.
Kehinde, can you tell us what's next for you? What's going on in the future? What are you working on presently?
Presently, I am working on launching some more programs on my app.
What's your app called?
The Power Method.
Oh.
You can find me at Power Movement. So just doing that, launching more programs on there, launching my new website.
Oh, really?
Excited about, yeah. Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And just looking forward to like my future collaborations or partner like with Rispin and women's health, and you know, there's a lot of things in the works in the future, so I'm excited.
Oh, nice. Rispin is the company with Halle Berry, is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Shout out to Halle Berry. Jeff's cuz.
Yep.
And what's the other women's health? What have you been doing with them?
So I started collaborating with Women's Health during the height of the pandemic last year. So
right.
I started with like classes. I still currently host classes with them, like once a month or twice a month.
Nice.
I do other side projects with them. I just did like some content for their All Out Studio app.
Beautiful.
That's launching pretty soon. Yeah, so I think throughout the pandemic and the classes, I just kind of established a relationship with them.
Nice.
And it's opened many doors of opportunities for me with them.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm so proud of you, Kehinde.
Thank you.
You've come a long way in a very, very short period of time.
Thank you. And I have to say this, you've always been my biggest supporter from day one. I remember the first time we met, I think it was in 2018.
18? Yeah, 18. Wow.
And
about 3 years ago now.
Yeah. You affirmed me. You spoke life into my existence, into my career, and you saw a path for me in this industry that I was like, why would he say that? I don't really see that for myself. But from day one, you've always been my biggest supporter. And I know we fight a lot, and I just want to say I appreciate you. Thank you for being always supportive.
Of course.
That means a lot.
I mean,
it's like, it's rare you have people outside of your immediate family, like my sister, who support you and see your potential from day one. And you've always been that person, so I appreciate it.
well, thank you. I do have a great eye for talent. I mean, you're an incredible person. I mean, and sometimes, you know, it helps to have somebody that, you know, has a different perspective, you know, even though you can't see it yourself. But I mean, it was just so obvious to me that you're just.
Not to me at the time. I was like, what is he talking about?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes it helps, man, having somebody that can see those things. But like, you're gonna do way bigger things. This is just the beginning. This is just year one of you going out on your own and doing what you got to do. You're gonna be a lot bigger than I think people are gonna realize. People are gonna be listening to this conversation retroactively, I think, in like 5 years, 10 years, thinking like, wow, like, you know, meager beginnings and things of that nature. So, I mean, I think that, you know, you're just such a powerhouse, and I think that you're so necessary and beyond necessary. You're pivotal for the culture at this time, because you're not what you see every day. You're not some blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman that's, you know, super skinny and like having these unrealistic body images and just, you know, just like fitness hyperbole. It's just like it's not real.
Yeah.
It's not real. Like,
it's important that like I know for me with the industry, it was hard to, when I started, even now, it's hard to see a woman of color that I can relate to. There isn't that many of us in this space.
No, there aren't.
You know, you do find the racially ambiguous ones, but someone who looks like me, it's really hard to find that. And I would hope that my presence would, you know, uplift and inspire another woman of color who looks like me to pursue this industry.
Well, I think that anyone that looks at you will be inspired because you're beyond the trendsetter. You're going to be paving the way for a lot of people, hopefully, that look like you and come from your background and understand that you can do this. This industry is not just for our white counterparts. It's not just for the people that are racially ambiguous and like, you know, it's for everyone, and it should be inclusive to everyone. You know.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
you.
I know that you do not leave the crib.
On a Sunday. Who does that on a Sunday? But no, I thank you for having me.
I appreciate you so much. I really do. The industry appreciates you. And Serafina's back.
Oh, hey girl, you want to close it out? What do you want to say? Woof, woof, woof. She's like, no, I'm just passing by.
Thanks for tuning in. Peace.